all about the jar. All about the jars. Imagine for a moment you're one of these servants and you hear about this miracle worker, and he's the one that they're sending to solve this horrible problem, to run out of wine at a wedding. All right, God forbid that would happen. And, so here he comes and he says, first of all, he points to these stone water jars meant for water. And second, he says, fill them with water. It's like, well, man, the problem's not water, the problem's wine. And, I think to really appreciate what's going on here, in a certain sense, imagine you're at dinner, wonderful, fine restaurant, and you order a $300 bottle of wine. And your family are getting excited for this wonderful bottle of wine. And my family, we would be very excited about wine. And so anyway, you're waiting for this thing to arrive, and all of a sudden the waiter comes, places the bottle of wine on the table, and it's in a plastic Aquafina bottle. You'd probably be thinking, that can't be a $300 bottle of wine. You'd be expecting something very different. The container matters. We know this. I don't know about you, but if we go shopping, which I do rarely, I usually just go to Chipotle, but when I do shop, you go down the aisle at the grocery store, and maybe you're in the canned food section, and you pick up 2 different cans of veggies. And one's the name brand, and one is the general store brand, and you look at them, and you're just kind of like, well, one's 5 cents more than the other. What really is the difference? I don't know about you, but a lot of times you just pick the one that looks better, right? That somehow makes you believe that one's going to be better just because the container and the marketing is different. It's a canned vegetable. It's probably not going to be that great anyway. But we chose the one with a better container. Well, why did Jesus choose the stone jars? Because of how much they could fill, how much they could contain, that there was going to be an abundance of the gift, an abundance of the wine. But it's not just about the jars. It's about what's in it. I don't know if you've seen the commercial. There's this, some commercials are just, I don't know why, they just make me laugh every time. And this is one of them. There's this, it's CarMax, I believe, and there's this young high school aged girl who's buying her first car. And so she says to her dad, which one should I get? And they show you 2 identical looking cars. And the dad kicks one tire and goes, this one looks good. And nothing looks different. The container, the outside is all the same. And what's the point of the commercial? It's what's inside that matters. It's all about the interior. Check the Carfax, as they say. Make sure that you're buying a good car, not just outside but in, that all of it works together. And so I think it's easy for us with this gospel, with this wonderful miracle where Jesus provides all this wine, to get hung up on the fact that Jesus came and filled these stone jars with wine, and what a beautiful gift for this wedding. This party is not going to stop for days. Well, it's not just about Jesus showing he has the power to turn water into wine. It's about something more than just wine. The other day, I was with a brother priest. We were out to dinner at Nodo's. Nodo's is a wonderful Italian restaurant. Love it there, partly because there's very good Catholic people who own the restaurant. And Mr. Nodo came over to talk to us, and we were talking for a bit. And he said he was sharing with both Father Tony and I what he loved about the restaurant business. And he said what he loves about the restaurant business is families coming together and enjoying a special night together. And he was talking about this moment where there was all these siblings who've been living for the past 20 years all throughout the States. And it's been over 20 years since all of these siblings have been together at the same time at one table. And so they chose to come together and come to Nodo's and have a wonderful evening together. They even rented a room so that they could spend hours there from 6 to 10. They were going to savor the night, savor the evening. And eventually, one of the siblings called Mr. Nodo over and said, hey, we want to have this special bottle of wine. It's $300. A little outside my budget, but hey, $300 bottle of wine. And he said to Mr. Nodo, should we get it? I don't know about you, but if I ask the owner of any restaurant if I should get an expensive bottle of wine, I think he's going to say, yeah, hello. But Mr. Nodo's response, I thought, was actually kind of was good. He said, you could come back a month from now and come back with some friends that you're close with in the Grand Rapids area who you see often. You could come back to the same restaurant, have similar type of food, and order the same bottle of wine. And it won't even compare to how it'll taste tonight. Because tonight, you're with your family. Tonight, you're with special people, people you love. It's not really about the wine and the food. It's about the people you're with. And so tonight, it'll be so much better. I thought, well, you're a good salesman. But I think his point is true. How often when we're together with people and the food is great, of course, and the wine is great, but it's such a wonderful evening because of who we're with, right? It elevates it. And so it's not just about the wine, it's about the feast. It's about the people gathered together. And so that's what it is for us this weekend. It's about the feast. The people, all of us, gathered together. What I love about this gospel is the jar, the wine, and the feast has great spiritual significance for all of us. It builds on last week. The jar, if you will, is kind of like that structure. It's that identity that we talked about last week, Theophilus, that we are God's beloved. That's who we are. And then the wine is us being filled with God's goodness and God's love and God's grace. And then the feast is all of us enjoying the meal at the table of the Lord together. And that means at times that we're here to encourage one another when we're suffering. There's some of you are grieving right now. And sometimes that means we come together and to celebrate around this table because we're celebrating something beautiful. Maybe a child who just had a wonderful experience at a retreat, or maybe just your own personal experience of faith. We come together at this feast and we celebrate around this table. That's what makes it special. It's not just about the jar and the wine. It's about being gathered as God's people at his table at the feast.